How did we come up with the crazy idea to take students from inner city Chicago to India?
This is going to be a great opportunity to understand that the world is flat.
What an amazing opportunity.
My name is Dave Patzwald. My role with icStars is that of a fan. You know, I've been an employer, a contributor, an advocate, but overall I'm just a huge fan of the organization. I've been involved with them for several years. I first learned about the icStars program through a colleague. You know, I was a newly hired CIO, was learning about our organization, and a colleague informed me that, hey, we have this great pool of resources from this organization called icStars, and she encouraged me to learn more about that organization. And as a result of that initial recommendation from that colleague, you know, I did make the effort to learn more about icStars, and my involvement has increased ever since that time.
My name is Sandy Castro, and I'm the president and co-founder of icStars. For the uninitiated, icStars is a technology, leadership, and business training program, as well as a social enterprise. The founding of icStars was coming from a real need for opportunity in our community, but also opportunity in business for diverse talent. So the old way of doing things was starting to shift as the world got flatter. And we are seeing so much change in this industry and in business. And I could see a bridge between resilient, inner city, talented people who had developed this amazing toolkit and the out-of-the-box thinkers that were required in business today. People who were able to communicate not just down the street, but across the world, who really valued a different way of thinking. And I thought there is tremendous opportunity here to leverage those talented young people and to leverage the need in business for people who thought outside of the box.
My name is Eric Lannert. I'm the Vice President of Technology and Operations at icStars. Dave Patzwald, one of our premier volunteers, sponsors, and employers, approached us to do a trip to India that would be a cultural exchange for alums and folks that were working in India. At the time that he did it, the idea of offshoring was very hot, and it was affecting us directly because quite a few jobs that we used to be able to have folks go into work within were no longer there. And so rather than coming at it from a fear-based perspective, Dave and I thought this is going to be a great opportunity to understand that the world is flat, to really experience how flat the world is, and to really understand what the nature of work that's happening there is, so that we could better understand how the program here would need to adapt and change.
So, everybody made it?
Yes.
Ready to go? Now, what are we looking for? If you've read your itinerary, what are we
We're looking for somebody with a sign that says
icStars.
There we go. Lead the way.
Hey, how are you?
For me, it was the opportunity to connect two very different cultures, but that seemed to have a very similar inspiration. And so, you know, you wouldn't think to make that connection, but it was something that was an instinct, a gut feel that seemed like the right thing to do. For the kids from icStars, well, they're really young adults. They've had some good work experience, and they've had, most of them, if not all, have come from some pretty difficult backgrounds themselves. They have a common shared experience for many of the people from India. So I think what I'm really hoping to do is to connect two communities that, took very different paths using the same career choice, which is really information technology. So it's the shared experience that I think is interesting. And I think what's also interesting is that we're not sure what may come out of it, but we're already getting glimpses that there could be some really sustainable business opportunities or social opportunities that we're already seeing even after a couple days.
I think this model has application way beyond icStars. I think what we're doing is demonstrating the value of entry-level people in America in the whole global sourcing equation. And that applies whether we're talking about finance or HR sourcing or taxes or all of the pieces of all functions that are moving offshore. They all have implications long-term economically in America. And I want to see us create a blueprint for how other functions can actually save the entry-level positions and all of the positions that follow from there.
My initial thoughts when Dave actually asked us if we wanted to do this exchange in India, I was floored to look at diversity for real and how we're all connected. What does it look like halfway around the world? What is that experience like? And that is, it's unforgettable.
What surprised me the most about the culture in India was a particular moment in time when we were presenting the program to a group of middle-aged, like 30-somethings. And we were talking about resiliency being the cornerstone of what we're looking for. And when we discuss that in America and in American businesses, people think, oh, that's really creative. That's different. We haven't thought about our recruiting process that way before. And the reaction there was one of unimpressed. They were like, what? And they were kind of shocked. They actually turned it around and said, well, what kind of resiliency or what kind of adversity have you all overcome? You live in America. Everything is already there. You have access to all of these things. And then they proceeded to talk about their stories, personal stories of overcoming adversity and the particular challenges of acquiring and accessing education in India. And it wasn't until that moment in time where I really understood resiliency in a global context.
One of the key concepts of this exchange was to have the icStars alums meet counterparts from Infosys, which is one of the most respected companies in the world. So I'm not sure how the Infosys employees were chosen. We know how we chose the icStars alums, but to see the 3 icStars alums meet their Infosys counterparts for the first time was incredibly rewarding. I don't think either side had any idea what to expect, but based on their initial reaction all the way to how they corresponded afterwards, it was a tremendous success. And I think those skills, in able to deal with other cultures from the get-go, is a tremendously useful skill and incredibly transferable to this new world is flat kind of world.
My name is Brandy again. I expect to see and experience India in its full contrast. I am an icStars alumni from Cycle 11, and I commenced from the program in 2006. So it was 2006. I had, been working at a telemarketing company, and then I transitioned from there. After working 3 years, and I started working for another not-for-profit for a couple of years. And they restructured, so I was unemployed. I was in my 5th month of unemployment. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. When the ad and commercial ran with Tamron Hall on Fox News, communicating this amazing opportunity to get training while being paid and, gone to some amazing jobs. That was like her tagline, some pretty amazing jobs. And then like the next time she said it was like some pretty high-paying jobs, and I was like, woo, that's even better.
When I was working for a company back in the States, and I trained Indian associates on how to, handle human resource related tasks. And one of the things that they're really efficient with in India are numbers and spreadsheets and facts, and they can analyze it a lot quicker. But with the call center and trying to do, westernized communication, it just wasn't an efficient way to spend time in training.
So it was really important that in the selection process and the individuals that icStars looks at to take on to the program have to be community-minded IT leaders, so that they're able to think outside of themselves in order to grow together. The target audience is between 18 and 27. You need to have a GED or high school diploma, of course, and your financial responsibilities have to be either, we have to take care of yourself or others that you're not being taken care of. 6 months of work experience and I'm motivated for social involvement and leadership in the community. Those are just the basic things that you're looking for on the surface. The funny thing about the trip to India is that before I was a twinkle in my mama's eye, there was a plan. There was this guy named Dave Patswell who was actually the CIO over Schneider Electric, who had been just burgeoning, just pushing and plotting to make this, exchange happen well before, I was even aware of it. And the president and co-founder, Sandy Castro, and the CFO, Eric Lannert, had decided that the icStars alumni should then, decide who got to go. And so I was on the committee who helped figure out and do the logistics around getting people signed up for the trip. My first impression of India was that even things that seem domestic to you, that seem like they're at home, are quite different. One of the things that, I had an assumption about was that India was a third world country, so maybe women were not as progressive in this country yet. Blew me away, a good 50-50 split. There were women all over the campus at Infosys. And in fact, the day that we met up with our counterparts to do the information exchange, the group was split down the middle, and I had gotten to meet with the project manager whose job was to prepare consultants who actually were consulting in the United States. So she basically taught them about my culture and, and got them prepared to be consultants abroad. She thought it was pretty cool that there was this nonprofit in Chicago that helped adults who would then be able to create opportunities for their own communities. I think that when you put positive things in the universe, that you get positive and great things back. And I think that considering that, this particular business, which is really my main frame of reference of how business is done in India, was created to drive the economy and to drive opportunity in India, and that they're really, patriotic about it, I think about, how New Delhi became New Delhi. It didn't just get given, they saw it as a goal and they drove it. So the way that they do business is progressive, and I think that it has a community focus. I have a philosophy or a little principle that I like to try to exercise, which is to look at things from the scope of love. And I was surprised to see that it translated well in India. I was inside of a foreign country where people saw me as kind of I wanted to say a novelty, but not. I think that belittles what it was. I just think that I was somebody very different than anybody they had ever met. And I was in a situation where I was holding babies. I was like the president. They often refer to America as Obama land at the time. And so I was holding babies, taking pictures with families. People were quite aggressive about getting pictures with me. I've had, amazing stare-off competitions with people. And what I did is said, these people are not trying to hurt me. They're not trying to steal from me. They just want a moment of time to record a moment where they met somebody that was very different than themselves. And we appeared to be different, but I think we were both enjoying it. I mean, they didn't fret when I took pictures of them. They didn't fret when I asked questions about their circumstances. So I think that I was happy to see that I was still able to keep that kind of perspective even when I was completely out of my element. Hot as I don't know what.
My name is Alfredo Pantoja. What do I expect on this trip? Culture, culture, culture. I'm an alum from Cycle 19, which was in early 2009. When I first learned about the Infosys opportunity and the opportunity for the trip to India, I was actually in Mexico. I had finished my previous job here in Chicago, and I kind of wanted to start my own business. I had saved up a little bit of money, and I thought, why not Mexico? If I'm working from home every single day, why not work from home? So I already in my mind had this idea of what my ideal lifestyle would be, which would be to travel to different places my laptop, basically. That to me is like the most perfect way for me to live. And then I saw the email about this great opportunity to go to India, and I thought to myself, it's like, it just fits in with everything that I want to do. I want to see the world and know how technology applies to the world at large. My first impression of India was just, it was intense, and very intense in a good way. You're just overwhelmed with sounds and colors and noises and smells. It's very, very different, and it's just, to me, I really enjoyed from the first impression I had of India, I was just in love with the country.
We worked with United Stationers. So they put out an RFP. They were looking for an automated backup system for their users, for their employees, netbooks, laptops, and desktops. So they had previously had a policy where every 3 years or so, 2 to 3 years, whether it was needed or not, they would automatically replace and get new desktops, new laptops for their employees. As the economy slowed down, they changed the policy to about 5 years. So it became a higher priority for them to have a reliable backup solution. So we got in our cycle, which was a group of 11. We created our own consulting companies, split into teams of about 3 or 4, and we each competed against each other to find the best solution for them.
During our trip to Infosys, we covered many different topics. Basically, we went through all of the departments and what each department did. They had people, they had developers, they had consultants. Basically, whatever you can think of Infosys, in the IT world, Infosys has a hand in it as far as India goes. So we basically went across different campuses, 2 different campuses, and we had a tour of basically, it felt like everything. What I learned about myself during the trip to India is really, you can handle change. Something that I think I first started realizing during my internship here at icStars, because it goes by so fast. You're doing so many different types of projects where you constantly have to adapt to whatever the task is. And when you're in a whole new country, particularly a country as immense and as different as India, with as big a population as it has, I think I learned that I'm able to adapt under different circumstances and different scenarios. My participation in the icStars program has changed me in the sense that I'm able to adapt to constant change, to constant pressure, and I think that helped me also in the trip to India.
My name is Rita Whitaker. I want to learn more about Infosys in India. I want to leave with at least 1,000 pictures and memories that will last a lifetime. I am from cycle 16, and the cycle took place in 2008. In my education path, I was probably about a sophomore in college. I was doing online classes at the Fry. I was living in North Carolina. I had flew to Chicago to see family, and while I was here, my best friend told me, you know, you have to check this out. You know, I know you're moving back to Chicago soon, and you know, you're not happy with your job right now. Like, you have to check out this place called icStars. Like, when I heard about it, I knew it was for you. So I came to an information session while I was here, and I just fell in love. I was just like, no, that it's not possible. Like, this can't be real. And I got to meet some of the cycle mates that were in cycle, like cycle 14, if I believe. and it was just all unfolding right there in my lap, and I just knew that I had to be here. It was my first time traveling overseas, and I was a little terrified. I was, well, I knew that we were safe once we were inside the gates of Infosys, but basically the process of getting to the Infosys gates, I was a little frightened. When we first found our driver and we were going over to the van, I remember the dogs were just running straight towards us. That kind of frightened me, and I was a little frightened, but at the same time I felt safe because I was with a group of people that I was just basically getting to know, and you know, they did nothing but we did nothing but made each other feel secure. I was invited by Infosys along with a few of my colleagues, and we were given the opportunity to come in and experience the culture and to basically get a feel of the company and to see what was going on.
Our customer was United Stationers as well, and we had an RFP for a customer relationship management system. So, no, for an asset management system, sorry. They were basically losing, I believe, $2 million worth of assets a year because they had no way of tracking where they were, because basically they could track them on the network for about 180 days. But after the 180 days were over, and if a user hadn't signed in, they had no idea where the laptop was. So what we did was we presented automatic systems where they can actually use barcode scanners to find out exactly where the assets were, like who was the last person to have the asset, and where's their location, and things of that nature.
The topics that we mainly focused on was what was Infosys doing to keep business coming in so strong? How were they growing at such a large pace? We wanted to find out more of what they were doing behind the scenes, and how could we basically do the same things in our little community that we have here at icStars to see the growth. I remember us being at the Taj Mahal, and it was so hot that my sandals, they were leather. They started to, like the glue that was keeping them together, it started to melt off, and my sandals started to come unraveled. That was definitely something that I will never forget. And I won't forget another experience there. We went into the ladies' room, and they had Western and Eastern style stalls. It was definitely something we weren't ready for. Brandy was a little, I think she actually got one of the Eastern, and she was just like, what am I supposed to do in here? I don't know what to do. And it was just like the funniest moment ever. I'm gonna tell this little story. I remember when we were coming from the Taj Mahal and we stopped at a little restaurant. Our driver took us to this one particular place. We didn't say pull over here, but everyone was a little bit hungry and restless. So we pulled over at this place, and you know, it didn't look the best, let me say that, but the food was pretty good. And afterwards, what we saw was our driver got money from the owner of the restaurant for basically bringing us there. So I would say what I learned about the people in India, how they conduct their business, is they have some type of secret society or brotherhood or sisterhood, or whatever you want to call it, where they look out for each other. They make sure everyone is well taken care of. It's almost like you bring me business and I'll take care of you. And and so on and so on. And you just saw it everywhere. Everywhere you went, from the little small shops to the bigger places. It was just like that everywhere. And I definitely, it made me feel warm at heart that people cared about each other. Everyone ate because one ate, and that was a good thing. I learned that I needed to have a better attitude about things. I think that sometimes, you get stuck in your ways and you only see things one way. But actually being away from home, from the place that I basically feel the safest, and being around individuals that on an ordinary week, like I would probably see them once or twice, but to actually be with them almost 24 hours a day, I had to basically change the way I saw things. And, just being around people who saw things differently than I did definitely opened my eyes about a lot. And I thank them for that, because it has definitely helped round me.
Explore, engage, exchange. It's the 21st century. Commerce is now truly global and increasingly virtual. The world is flat, and distance is no longer a barrier to finding cost-effective solutions in any field of business, technology, manufacturing, and medicine. In fact, the lack of geographic proximity and radical time zone shifts, once viewed as an entry barrier to the emerging one-world economy, can now be viewed as a considerable asset to well-managed companies of all sizes in the West.
The trip to India with the icStars alums has actually dramatically changed my view toward outsourcing. I've felt somewhat guilty about the outsourcing trend and having personally contributed to it, but at the same time I was wondering, well, what can I do about it? Well, this trip gave me the glimmer of an idea of what I can do about it and what other CIs can do about it. Namely, that there is an alternative, that there is not just the blind path towards outsourcing. There is an untapped pool of resources right here in our backyards, in our inner cities, that deserves to be, explored and utilized as much as we've been doing on the other side of the world.
The 2010 icStars trip to India provided 3 program alumni with a unique opportunity to test their acquired skills in the rapidly changing global marketplace for information technology. In the years to come, icStars will continue to pursue unique exchange opportunities that promote the continuing development of its program participants and alumni. But in a rapidly changing economic model for international business, how will we chart a course for the future? How does icStars forge a path for career placement and success within a new information technology landscape that is yet to be discovered?
I think that the idea of going to other countries, of really seeing the world and experiencing the world, and celebrating and honoring the diversity of getting things done is incredibly powerful. And so the opportunity to expand this program, to grow, to work with other countries and companies and alums is absolutely thrilling.
Lots of research has happened in the last 20 years around models of education, and it's become very clear that active learning or engaged learning, there's lots of buzzwords, constructivist learning, is all anchored in an authentic context. So we learn best when we're doing something that actually is relevant to our lives. And so a model of education has emerged called project-based learning, where especially in adult education, you can present learners in teams with authentic, real project problems that they have to work on. This is different than a case study model. This is an actual client who has a real need and can situate the learner in an authentic model of trying to really do the actual task. All instruction then is anchored to that context. So after someone makes a mistake or after they really are looking for the help or looking for the content, that's when you can provide direct instruction. And study after study after study shows that retention levels are far higher in that model because we're learning things at the moment we need them, as opposed to sitting back passively and just listening to presentation after presentation of content, which then all we do is turn around and regurgitate on a multiple choice test. A project-based learning environment says you succeed if you can actually finish the project and get good scores from your client.
Recession, unemployment, outsourcing. Despite the difficult economic times, it's important to consider offshoring labor trends from a perspective of holistic benefit rather than as a one-dimensional threat to employment security in the United States. During the 1990s, Western companies began outsourcing key business support services to India, China, and the Philippines. As a result of more liberal regulations and the resulting explosion of fresh economic activity, new companies and business models were founded in developing nations utilizing their local talents and resources. Greater corporate wealth was achieved, new middle-class economies emerged, and the Western companies that initiated this trend saved enormous amounts of operating capital, fueling a deeper integration of these services into their business models. Today, over 90% of all Fortune 500 companies deliver key services from 29 countries worldwide, including top performers India, China, and Malaysia. Increased economic power and the creation of a new middle class in these developing regions will ultimately result in an expansion of North American exports around the globe and the creation of more domestic jobs at all levels to meet export demand.
I think outsourcing technically, yes, has some negative consequences for the U.S. It does involve removing jobs from the U.S. and putting them in another country. That's kind of what it's talking about. At the same time, it's something I think that's been overused, and I think it's time for a return to balance. And I think that organizations like icStars offer a chance to restore that balance.
Teaching, training, networking.
What would be a good approach to remain profitable while still charging for the still getting a profit from the front end as well as long term?
Well, I guess a couple things come to mind. You could always take a percentage of the winnings, but I'm not quite sure how you would enforce that. Have you talked to the lottery directly?
We were in contact with them. We're waiting to get an appointment. It's kind of limbo right now.
Because I wonder if it would be of some value to them. Because the first question that came to mind when you started describing what it is, well, who's going to pay for? Who would pay for this?
Despite news headlines that report dwindling undergraduate enrollment in traditional professional programs at America's colleges and universities, an investment in educational paths geared toward computers and technology remain a solid value, with 94% of degree holders in the United States employed within their chosen field full-time. At icStars, we are actively developing new training models that will allow us to engage and partner with technology companies based in top outsourcing destinations around the world.
I think our unique or competitive advantage is that it's not just technology, it's also about leadership. And that, it would be somewhat easy to start a school that just taught hard skills in technology and even professional behaviors. But to really understand leadership as making opportunities for others and reciprocity, I think that we're bringing together this idea of being a leader in our community and being a leader in business.
I hope that this trip is just the first of many that icStars alums will take, not only back to India, but to other countries as well.
When Dave and I first started talking about this, would situate it in a larger strategic context of figuring out the jobs that are going to be needed here in the States that would provide reason for young people to go into technology. What came out of this opportunity was really a blueprint for what the future is going to look like. I see the next step being actually working with folks that we built relationships with in the context of this trip to start doing operations between icStars and a counterpart in India. From there, once we understand how that model works, we believe we can replicate it in other parts of the world. And so the vision here is truly a 24/7 global team of young people all working together that all have relationships and all understand the interdependence between them, as opposed to the I win, you lose kind of a model that's been told to them over the last 15 years.
At icStars, it is our goal for all program alumni to establish and maintain leadership ties with their respective communities while excelling as service providers in the area of information technology. Whether they may find themselves implementing technology applications in Chicago, Illinois, or supervising a team of entry-level programmers in Bangalore, India. The world is flat. The time is now. The opportunities are infinite. And we want you to join in our continued growth and development. Become a part of icStars. Visit our website at icstars.org or call 312-640-3450 to arrange a tour in high tea. icStars, your option, your partner, your resource for developing a new business paradigm in the 21st century global economy.